They're back there, Karen?
I don't see the on-air light. Just a moment.
Oh. All right, I will call the city council meeting to order. City Recorder Krager, please call roll.
Counselor Lube. Counselor Anderson.
Here.
Mayor Snyder.
Here.
Youth Counselor Turley. Here. Council President Goodhouse. Counselor Newton.
Here. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, staff or council, do we have any non-agenda items?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to citizen communication. Any follow-up to previous citizen communication?
No follow-up, Mr. Mayor.
All right, the next will be an update from the police chief. Chief McAlpine, good to see you. Yeah. Make your mic green, chief. There we go.
Okay, there we
Awesome.
go. Okay, here we go. Again, this is for August. There's a couple things I'd like to highlight before I get onto the slide, just on your front sheet. And that is just to remind you that we did our first community outreach on residential parking. A lot of that had to do with the current situation around Tigard High School, but also it gave other neighbors a chance to talk about the concerns they had in their residential area. It was a standing room only here held at Town Hall. It was a very robust discussion. We had a lot of staff, both from police, PW, and economic development, and the city manager present. I hope Councilor Lube and Councilor Goodhouse were also present. And there was a lot of takeaways from their input. And then we have one more on the Let's Talk Transportation event. So we hope to get a little bit more conversations, and then hopefully get on the agenda to be able to bring a proposal of what we've learned and our recommendations for any potential code changes. So that's still very much on the horizon.
Chief, I'll just point out that we had some citizen feedback that people were very impressed with the professionalism of the team that was there from the city, both in knowledge and being able to respond. So I want to thank you for that. They particularly pointed out the police department leadership that were there.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I think for the most part, you have the dashboard, and I'm going to bypass it, so it'll be at your reading pleasure later. The only thing I will say is our persons and property crime are trending downward right now. So I just want to highlight that. But I do want to touch on two other things. I'm going to speak first is just about Washington Square Mall. The two most recent incidents actually happened in September, and I recognize I'm really reporting out for August. But I think, it's important to understand kind of the resources and what's going on at Washington Square Mall, because it is such a destination here, and we get travelers from all over. So these are some of the recent things that have happened in 2019. But specifically, this month was two what we call flash robs. So not flash mobs, but flash robs, where it's actually a distraction tool by our youth to go in, but actually with the intent to do a robbery. And we've had two of those incidences. You can see we've also had some escalations where, when loss prevention has contacted shoplifters, they've pulled out guns or assaulted them. Commercial Crimes Unit is very much on top of this, but also from a response resource, it's a pretty resource intensive for us to come out to these situations. And also the other thing to point out is, for example, at Lululemon's and also the T-Mobile robbery, they're outside youth. In other words, they're coming from Washington State, coming down specifically to Washington Square, because this is the type of mentality that they're using at all the different malls. And then we had several that were from either Wilsonville or Portland. And again, we've been able to identify and work these cases, but again, it's just a situational awareness that is upticking. I want to just bring that to your attention. The other one, I think you have been patiently waiting for, and that is our photo enforcement. I feel like I keep saying it's coming, the sky is falling, but here's the latest as we know it this week. We are still waiting for Conduit and their vendor that's got to get that they'll actually do the work installing. We're waiting for the documentation that they need. Once they can do that, we can submit the packet to ODOT. So right now, if we do get that paperwork that we need, this is our new timelines where we would start our 30-day warning period. And this is, I apologize, this is actually at the end of your packet. I did give you this slide so you could follow along. But again, we would start with Hall Boulevard, then go to Durham, and then 72nd. And just a reminder that ODOT approved only 2 approaches on Durham, so this is what we were approved for. And we would stagger these. It takes about 2 weeks to start the install and do the software and the engineering construction, and they would go on to the next one.
Which approach on Durham was not approved and why?
Oh, I didn't even ask that.
Sorry, we can get that.
No, it's okay. It's actually south and north, and the one going to Sherwood, the reason is they felt the speed change was too sudden, and they felt that could be potential trap, and so that was the feedback that we got.
So the movement through sort of southbound towards Sherwood on 99W?
Yes.
That was not approved.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. And the other was the same, I'm trying to recall now, the other approach, if it was northbound or it was actually, I think, coming from King City. I'll get back to you.
So we
but I wanna be
requested
very clear
4
this.
on Durham and got
Yes.
2?
That is correct.
And what did we request on Hall and 72nd? 4 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
72nd, Hall, I think we got all 3 approaches. 72nd was, one was not approved, and that's because they have future construction that they're going to do that they think will mitigate that issue, and therefore they approved only 3 of those approaches.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think that was the highlights that I wanted to bring to your attention. And of course, as always, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay.
Thank
Council have questions?
Unrelated.
Counselor Newton?
I just wondered, I was at, all the councilors were at the Street Fair and Latino Fest, but a lot of our police force was there, which was great to see, and I just wondered if you would comment briefly on how you felt your interactions with our community went.
I appreciate the opportunity to actually give you feedback, and I'll put not only from the street fair, because I thought that was very well attended, and it seemed like we were always having discussions and people were stopping by, so which I greatly appreciated. But I would also put it in the same opportunities we had with the concert in the parks and
Moving on it.
movies in the parks, and so we were there at all of those, and it was just a great opportunity to really talk just about our police staffing, and they seem to be a genuine interest in hearing the situation. I got a lot of good feedback on the visualization, so when people could actually see the map and see where our coverage or lack of, the level of engagement was very impressive, and it was always very positive, and a lot of it was just, I mean, some were saying, I think we have 100 cars out there. Okay, it was a little bit of a stretch, but they said it with a straight face, and others were about 38 to 23. Only a few came to that 5, and so when I said our minimums, and I mean it's just minimums, were 3, 4, and 3, and 3 being day shift, 4 being swing shift, and go back to 3 on graveyard, and it was very telling and very, they had a lot of good questions after that, and again, seemed to be very supportive of our needs. So,
The people I watched you talking to about that were shocked.
yeah.
I mean, that was the most common reaction I saw.
And then, I also fill it in with, where we're trending is about 40+% of the time we are on those minimums. So it's not always, but it's a good portion. About half of the year is on those minimums. And again, you have force multipliers on day shift of motorcycles and some detectives, but pure call responders. And they seem to understand when you then show them that we have to go out to the jail. That's an hour drive. You go out to the hospital when you have those mental health holds, and that's another 2 to 3 hours. So again, when you put it in the context of a map, and they could see the flow or lack of, a lot of people took that to heart and were very interested and asked some great questions. So thank you for asking. Appreciate it.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, citizen communication. I don't have the sign up. We have none, okay. Is there anyone that did not sign up that would like to speak tonight on citizen communication? All right, I see none. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is used for routine items such as approval of minutes, receipt of council meeting calendars, proclamations, appointments to boards and committees, and approval of contracts or intergovernmental agreements with partner agencies. Detailed information on each item is available on the city's website in the packet for this meeting. Approval may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Anyone may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. Tonight, we are receiving and filing council calendar, tentative agenda. We're proclaiming Constitution Week and proclaiming Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Is there a motion?
I move for the adoption of the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Move on to item number 4, consider resolution of support for DLCD, that's the Department of Land Conservation and Development Technical Assistance Grant. Mr. Warren.
Good evening, Mayor Snyder, councilors. I'm Skylar Warren, Associate Planner in the Community Development Department. I'm here tonight because we're beginning work right now on a project that we're calling Employment Lands Tomorrow that will ensure Tigard remains competitive for economic development opportunities. We're undertaking this work now so that we're prepared for coming changes, including impacts from the Southwest Corridor Light Rail Line, the potential inclusion of employment lands in future expansions of the growth boundary, and the changing landscape in commerce, industry, and the workplace. This project will involve a careful look at the policies under Goal 9 of the Comprehensive Plan, the zoning of commercial and industrial areas, and the development code regulations that apply to our employment lands. As part of this work, we're going to be required to perform certain tasks under statewide planning rules, looking at our buildable lands inventory for employment lands, and preparing an economic opportunities analysis. We last performed that work in 2011. So we're looking at those analyses not as requirements, but as opportunities. We plan to be more innovative in our approach to that work with less emphasis on current data and more focus on a holistic look at the changing needs for employers. We believe that this approach better serves the goals of the project to develop a future-oriented, proactive plan to seize sustainable economic development opportunities. The Department of Land Conservation and Development has recently released a call for applications for technical assistance grants. These grants support comprehensive planning activities with a high priority on planning that will lead to economic development opportunities. The grants are typically offered only when the legislature appropriates funds for them in the current biennium, and last year no grants were offered, or in the last biennium no grants were offered. So staff is seeking a grant in the amount of $30,000 to support the required analysis activities of the Employment Lands Tomorrow project. And a requirement of that grant application is a resolution of support from the City Council, which is the item before you tonight.
Questions? Comments? Councilor Anderson?
So if we are awarded this grant, how is it going to be used? Is it going to be for our staff time? Are we going to get somebody out from Salem coming to help us out? How's that work?
So the way the grant call is written, it's flexible, so we can use it for some staff time. Our project proposal would actually use the money to hire a consultant to do some of the analysis work. The analysis work that you have to do under the economic opportunities analysis is pretty robust. And there are a number of firms that specialize in that work, not just here in Oregon, but in other communities as well. We don't really have the capacity to do the kind of in-depth analysis that's required. The other thing I would say is that we are looking for something that's a little out of the box. There's a tendency with these things to pull something off the shelf, and you end up with a product from your consultant that's very similar to products that has been delivered to other communities. We really want to push to get something a little different that's really tailored to our needs and the vision for this project. So the funding would support their analysis, their support of staff in running task force meetings, their support in preparing the documentation, and providing a list of policy recommendations.
Councilor Loop?
First, I want to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, weren't we going to sing?
Do you want us to sing to you?
That's
Okay.
Darn it.
We offered. You probably took the smart choice. The thing that I want to say is I think this is a great opportunity for us to get some really interesting information to come out of it. And as we are continuing to look at our policies and our codes, and this is just another great opportunity for us to update it and to be forward-looking. And so I think this is great.
Councilor Newton?
Just a couple of things. So I was intrigued with the idea of looking outside the box and getting a little creative, and I heard you mention task forces. So I'm assuming we're going to try to involve the business community in terms of ideas they might have or needs that they see coming down the road that we might want to factor into this.
correct. We have in our grant application, we have a wish list, if you will, of stakeholders that we would like to involve in the project, ranging from real estate professionals who focus on commercial real estate, developers, business owners, workers. I think that's one voice that's often not heard in these plans for economic development, and so we really want to make sure that we're hearing what the residents of Tigard would like to see in their community in terms of career opportunities. So we're really looking, broadly for a group of stakeholders who will inform the work.
Great. And then I noticed the 10,000 will come out of the community development budget. Is that for our staff time?
It's just a match.
Just the match.
In
So
order
it's
to be competitive, we do have to provide some
Okay.
match, and that $10,000 is already in the budget. We have a consultant budget line item, and it will be coming from that.
And so given the other opportunities we want to take advantage of this budget year, that money is available then for consultant
Yes.
fees. Okay. And then the last thing, I think this is really exciting, and I think the timing's good because of what we might be seeing with the Southwest Corridor coming. We don't really know how that's going to impact our job zoning and our commercial zoning. So I think employment lens, that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, I think the timing's good. So thanks, and happy birthday.
Councilor Shirley? Okay. All right, is there
And
any further discussion?
Actually, one more thing.
Sure.
So, obviously, the buildable lands inventory is very important stuff as a part of that in 2011. But if we have any opportunities to look, and I think that's why you want to get a little creative, if we have any residential property that's not serving its highest and best use as residential, maybe we can flip that over to employment land, whether commercial or industrial, and maybe even vice versa too. So just a very broad range. We've been building residential so much that, the city's starting to, the citizens are starting to talk. But if we can find any of those gems, I think that would be worth it right there.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Councilor Wood, did you have something else?
No, I was just going to make a motion
Okay.
to approve resolution number 19-35.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 19-35, a resolution of support for a technical assistance grant from the Department of Land Conservation and Development to conduct a buildable lands inventory and economic opportunities analysis in support of the Tigard Employment Lands Tomorrow project.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Resolution number 19-35 is approved. Thank you, Mr. Warren, for spending your birthday night with us. Happy birthday. All right, we are moving on to item number 5, which is to receive an update on Tigard Economic Development. Mr. Purdy, welcome back to the Tigard City Council.
Good evening. Thank you for the welcome. Promised myself I wouldn't be nervous, but I am. But it's good to be here. New microphone, so I'll get used to the speaking distance on this, so let me know if I'm not loud enough. I'm not before you tonight for you to make any needed action. This is more of an introduction for me to the new faces on the council, a general or brief overview about some of the economic development projects that we'll be tackling in the very near term, and then a chance for questions if you have them. I did think about starting some type of quip about the big shoes I'm trying to fill from the previous guy. Okay, made that joke. I think we are...
Very funny. I think we should tell the viewers at home who don't know that you used to be that guy, but
Happy to be Tiger.
otherwise, people watching on TV get confused,
Yeah.
so there you go.
I'm super pleased to be both Tigard's second and Tigard's first economic development manager. I guess that's the best explanation we can give. I do think we're building on success. When I look at the projects that we started back in 2014, 15, and 16, including the Enterprise Zone, the Vertical Housing Development Zone, the Hunziker Project, the Heritage Trail that Skylar, who was just here, brought to the construction phase, even the Taste of Tigard Food Festival. We're seeing examples of these projects paying dividends. They've improved the relationship between City Hall and the business community. They've increased the cohesiveness of Tigard's local economy. We began, in fact, very actively then building the economy. My goal in the very near term is to reintroduce some of those key programs that we can have the staff on hand to continue in order to continue to strengthen the economy, the local economy, to continue to build the relationships between City Hall and the private sector, and in fact, if we're successful, to bring the private sector in as a partner to further the city's strategic vision. I think I and the team can do a better job of that. We'll also be working with colleagues like Skylar, who you just saw, and Susan Shanks, who you see frequently, and a lot of my other colleagues in planning and community development on projects that set a foundation for a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable local economy. The planning work that they do sets the tone for successful economic development many years down the road. And in fact, the project Skylar just talked about is one that I'll get to work with him on. I will also be working with Susan Shanks on the Washington Square Regional Center Town Planning Renewal Update Program, as well as some other interesting planning projects that involve our employment lands and our commercial lands and our businesses. I think much of this work will be different than our initial economic development work because the enterprise zone we created is up and running and returning a benefit to the businesses and communities and our workforce. The Hunziker project has been completed for the large and the heavy lift phase and has only now a small segment of road left to build, all the while producing residential opportunities for affordable housing and setting the foundation for more private sector development. The Heritage Trail, as we have seen and celebrated a couple weeks ago, up and running, and even the VHDZ, the Vertical Housing Development Zone, is up and I would say, tangible dividends. So these core economic development programs are now in place. We've been benefiting from them. We don't need to go back and recreate them. We can turn our eye to some of those more strategic actions. So even with the, including the partnerships and the work I'll be doing with colleagues in planning, I intend to reconvene the Bankers, Brokers, and Builders Network. That's a program we do to reach out to those partners that are beyond the city. They help set the tone in the ecosystem for good economic development. These are the partners that provide the financing and the space for businesses. I would like to reconvene what we call the CEO Roundtable. Initially, we did that with traded sector businesses that produce a good or service here and export that beyond the region. I'd like to expand that to include other sectors of businesses, not limiting us to just those traded sector businesses. So that program will probably take a twist into more of a sector-based strategy where we pull together business leaders from different business sectors and see if we can facilitate and encourage them to work together to build their sector, build this industry. This is an idea I explored when I was working at the regional level, and I think it has some merit bringing it here to Titan. So that's a very quick overview of 4 or 5 projects. The full list includes, it's not in your packet because it's too much to include, and we're still developing some of it. The full list includes 11 or 12 different projects I'll be working on with partners.
What did you think of our council goals that we realized we needed to hire you back just to be able to achieve?
I was super excited and pleased to see council goals that are supporting the type of work I'm doing. I felt like that is a good foundation for me to be building upon with your support. So I did notice that specific, a couple of those specific council goals.
Are there any of those that you're concerned about? Like just, and by that I mean having the resources to deliver on and or that are right in your wheelhouse?
Potentially, yes. I need to spend a little more time thinking about how we would implement and what it would cost to implement some of those projects to achieve those goals.
Okay.
That's why I haven't gone into any more depth than I am with you right tonight, because I want to spend a little more time plotting a course for success, and then admittedly, potentially coming to you and saying, and these are the resources it will take to get there.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilor Newton?
Well, welcome back. I'm real excited to have you. When I was out campaigning, one of the things that I was, and I think Mayor Snyder shared this as well, but when I was talking to the Chamber of Commerce and different business interests, I was advocating for bringing back the Business Roundtable and strengthening our connection to our business community because, to your earlier point, I think some of the programs and activities that you spearheaded have paid amazing dividends. So I think they're really important to continue. One thing that I was hoping we might do as part of our connections with the business community is as legislative sessions come forward, give them an opportunity in a sort of a facilitated fashion to talk about legislation that they're interested in pursuing or legislation they're concerned about so that we can work together with them as a partner. And so that's not necessarily a whole program, but just something maybe to consider.
You're talking about at the state level?
Yeah, at the state
Okay.
level, yeah. Just because I heard a little bit about that and I thought, it's maybe worth providing them with some sort of a venue to talk about those things. Maybe it's something they're concerned about or something they'd like to see us maybe advocate for and for. But, and, like I said, really excited about the programs coming back and welcome back.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Anderson?
So the Bankers, Brokers, and Builders Network, great idea, and they can certainly work together. But I just think it's nice to have somebody to call here. So if anybody has any questions outside the city, in the region, they have somebody to call here. I think that's been lacking a little bit. But you're available, and we can start funneling stuff to you. Is that correct?
Through the appropriate channels.
Yes, exactly. Of course.
I don't think we ever stopped even in his old role, but. Counselor Lube, anything?
I just want to say I'm excited to see this list here and continue to build those relationships. We were talking, kind of earlier in our meeting about the way that we are trying to reach out and be more visible and just have a better communication with the community. And you are just an additional arm reach of that. And it's important for us to be able to support the business community because it's an important part of our community. And so I'm just really excited to get to know you a little bit better and to sort of dig in with you and figure out how we can just continue to support everybody, the businesses. So.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very
You're
exciting.
welcome.
All right, next item on the agenda is to receive a quarterly update on the city council goals. City Manager Wine.
Thank you, Council, Mayor and Council. My name is Marty Wine. I'm your city manager, and I'm happy to bring to you tonight the first quarterly report of where we are with city council goals. Historically, what we've done with the council goal setting is that we've provided a written report to the council about accomplishments that were made in the prior quarter, and through conversation with you, we've decided that it's a better way for you to have a chance to discuss both accomplishments that are being made on achieving council goals and also to begin to give you a look ahead at what to expect from a work planning standpoint to work toward those goals. So you'll recall back in mid-February that you all met to set the course for the 2-year goals that you are hoping will get priority attention and action during the time that the council is serving together. Your focus in putting together these goals, which you adopted in March, were to have a policy level focus that I mentioned a 2-year time frame. That the idea would be to have goals that didn't conflict or would have a limited impact on service delivery that was already underway, be achievable, and be aligned with the strategic plan. So this council paid particular attention to aligning the goals that you set with the city's strategic plan. I'll mention, because you have sort of 2 reports in your packet. One of them is this presentation, which I'm planning to go goal by goal just to talk a little bit about what's been achieved so far, and then also what we would be doing to look ahead, what you can expect. This format and the way we're going to report to you quarterly is still a work in progress. So my hope is tonight you'll also give feedback to me and to discuss so that we can, from a staff perspective, provide a report that's most responsive to what you're looking for. So I'm hoping you'll
Should we do that goal by goal? Is that what you're thinking? Okay.
Yes, my hope would be that you could give feedback both on the content of what you're seeing about goal progress and also about ways that you wish we would report in the future, because I'm still working with staff to put a format together that will be effective for this quarterly report. But like the CIP report that you're provided from our city engineer, our hope would be that with every quarterly report you get, that you're, seeing the progress that is being made, and you're an active part in making these happen. So I want to make this report work for you. So please go ahead and interject or ask questions or let me know that there's other information you're looking for as we go through this. In a few weeks, maybe a month, you will be getting the results of the city's performance audit. And one of the key recommendations that you're going to be seeing is that our performance audit firm is going to be recommending that there be even greater alignment between the strategic plan and the goals that are set by council and work plans within the departments. And so my hope is also that as you see this quarterly report, that, or maybe in the next cycle of goal setting, that we have the chance to align those even further. And while the council wants to set some priorities about things that you see happening, my hope will be that as you go forward into the next cycle, that alignment is increasing. It's one of the things that the performance audit report is telling us, is that creating annual work plans that are aligned to the strategic plan would be a really important connection to make. And as happens every 2 years when we have turnover on the council, with the adoption of your council goal, the set of goals that you've adopted, we are We are right now adapting to how work planning will change as a result of you adopting some, I think, new priorities. They're not entirely new directions. Okay, so I'm going to just launch in and talk about these goal by goal, and the first slide of each goal is just a reminder to you of what is in the goal. So there's a much more detailed report that was attached to your agenda item summary that's got both the look currently by quarter and the look ahead. I'm going to be focusing at the goal level, and goal 1 is really about the local option levy and the potential for a bond and securing resources to increase services that the community desires. So in this goal, what you've set forth is a plan to get much more detailed and much more clear early about a levy that could be scoped and put out to voters in May of 2020. So that's what this goal and objectives are really all about. And I would say one other thing that's been a benefit of putting this quarterly report together is to be able to see that even in the short time since the council adopted the council goals since March, we've really made a lot of progress to do exactly that about a local option levy. You've had several conversations about scoping the levy, what you believe should be in it. We've put together an outreach plan, which we're in course to be implementing. We've gotten very specific about what will be in the levy and studying and planning for a bond for a police facility. And we've begun to test and do outreach about that proposal this summer. So on the right-hand side of the slide, under Look Ahead, what you can expect is we've scheduled monthly meetings with the council to be able to check in on how it's going regarding outreach related to the levy proposal, to let you know what we've done. Obviously, you're a part of that and are taking an active role in doing outreach about the local option levy proposal, what we heard, and we'll be asking you whether you want to consider any refinements to the proposal. And then you'll have a go, no-go decision about referring the levy in January. So during the next quarter, we're testing messages through surveys, doing continued outreach. You'll have monthly opportunities to talk about the proposal and make choices about what to take out to the community, to voters. Okay, I'm going to move on to Goal 2. Goal 2 is really about delivering our major projects that are in our centers. Although when you look at this list, or if you read the report, there are a lot of projects that are underway. You've been getting regular updates about the status of many of these projects, but the idea about it is that growth is how we're going to direct and focus growth in our centers and plan for it. So up until now, as I mentioned, you've been getting some regular reports on many of these projects. We did the groundbreaking on the Tigard Street Heritage Trail. We have multiple projects in the Triangle that are underway. We've issued debt for the Town Center Development Agency for a new suite of downtown projects. We received an award notification for the Washington Square, for a grant for the Washington Square plan from Metro. And we're in the design phase on Universal Plaza. So there's a lot more going on with the projects that fall into Goal 2 that don't even fit on this slide, but you've been getting updates about them. And as we go forward in the upcoming quarters, we're going to be launching several planning efforts, which I think you've also heard about from our city engineer. We have a stormwater implementation plan in the Tigard Triangle. We're going to be launching the Park System Master Plan, the Transportation System Plan. We'll be getting into more on the design phase with Universal Plaza, and we'll be completing Tigard Street Heritage Trail. So we have a lot going on, especially in the downtown and Triangle. And I'll pause for any questions or updates that you...
I'll just go back to Goal 1. I couldn't quite get it in there before we moved
sure.
on. Well, no, I should have spoke up quicker, but I would just say on Goal 1, I feel like we're on track and we've made a lot of progress. Like we've had a few, kind of, I would say minor things that we've been working on to make sure, but I think overall, if I look at that goal, I feel like that goal is going pretty well, and we're like the council's doing its part, the staff are doing their part, the community is doing its part. So I just want to comment on that on Goal 1. But
I agree. I think there's going to be a convergence of information that will I think what we're going to be asking you, is there anything about the proposal that you've set forth that you think needs to be changed as we come back and check in about that? But I agree that I feel like we're on track with that goal.
And I agree as well. I think as we move forward, and remember, these are 2-year goals. Goal 1, we knew was going to be very time-consuming front end, and so I think we need to remind ourselves as we go forward with the other goals. There may be some goals that we're moving on, but not as quickly, and it's going to be important for us in the community to recognize that. So I think we talked about in future reports, putting something in terms of a timeline so that it's clear that some of these goals that we talk about later, we're not making as much progress on in the first 6 months of the 2-year period, but they'll be phasing in too. So I agree, we made a lot of progress on this, and this is really this is the time we need to spend time on this now, so.
I'll add one other thing about the levy, and that would be if there was something major like the potential for changing the timing of when you would want to go out for a local option levy, that might affect the circumstances you just outlined. But yes, given that the council was specific about timing and wanting to go out in May of 2020, that's what we're driving toward. And that will include, in a couple of weeks, you're going to get a presentation from the levy project team, including an update about our our facility planning for a police facility. And so you'll get a better sense, we'll be able to give you a better sense of whether or not that's going to be something that's viable and the timing for it. Okay, I'm going to move on to goal 3. Goal 3 is about how Tigard is going to grow, including planning for South River Terrace and West River Terrace, putting together more planning for affordable housing, including the affordable housing plan that you adopted in June, and seeking future employment lands for Tigard. So far, I think most of you know that we have already started negotiating with Metropolitan Land Group, who's our development partner, for how to complete concept planning for both South River Terrace and River Terrace West. We've reached substantial agreement on many terms. The structure of the agreement is such that we would be coming back to council to ask for staff resources to be able to manage that planning project. So you can expect that in the upcoming maybe month, you would see an agreement and also a request for resources for that planning effort to move forward.
So that's almost, just to clarify, that's almost at the point of coming to a meeting of the minds and the negotiation, or there are some deal points that aren't worked out?
I'm hesitant to comment too much on. I think that we have agreement in concept about how the work can go forward, and I think there are some assurances for each party that we're looking for in the agreement, so that our development partner. They recognize that through the way the council goal is structured, it's expected that our development partner would be the one to pay the cost for that planning work to be done. But as you can imagine, they don't want to have to pay or spend any more on that work than is absolutely necessary. And for our part, we want to be sure that we are leveraging the maximum benefit from that planning work if a UGB expansion is to go forward. And we want to make sure we have the staff resources to do appropriate planning work that includes the community. So the agreement is really aimed at ensuring those things happen. And yes, we are very close to reaching an agreement that we can bring to council both that reflects
Excellent.
those interests. But it will mean that we're going to be doing our best to meet the construct of the council goal, but it will mean that we may have some, I don't want to call them excess, but we will have staff resources that won't be completely focused on that work, but we would need to secure and get into place in order to get the work done. And so that's what we would be asking council. I can explain that more when the agreement comes forward. But
Thanks for the update on that.
we're close to reaching agreement with our development partner. We also received a Metro grant award. We were notified that we're going to be receiving a grant for this concept planning work. So we were very successful through the Metro grant process in securing help to be getting that work done. You all worked on the affordable housing plan in June, so that plan has been adopted, and that we've made some changes to our SDC waivers and exemptions. And you gave us some guidance about how to structure a construction excise tax for the future, so that will be coming back to you in the future. Let's see. Also, in the upcoming months, the upcoming 6 months or so, I think you just heard about the employment lands analysis from Mr. Purdy, and Tigard is likely to be seeking a joint entitlement status through the Community Development Block Grant Program. So we'll be bringing you forward some information about what it means. It would be a change in our status for how we receive those funds and sit at a regional table regarding community development block grants.
City Manager Wine, my understanding is that would happen in early 2020, so we're 6 months or so away from it.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, unless you have questions about goal 3, I'm going to keep going.
Any other? I just want to give people a chance. Okay.
All right. Goal 4 is really about hearing from and reflecting the Tigard community's values and understanding what they care about. So the objectives include a community-wide engagement effort, starting listening sessions in areas that are unincorporated about their interests in annexation, and our focus on basically diversity, equity, and inclusion. Within this goal, a lot has been happening, and I think in putting this report together, I realized that the goal is really what knits a lot of it together. Many of the efforts that you talked about tonight in your study session for the council to be more visible and creating the community you want, and also having the conversations that you want that look a little bit different than they have in the past, have been accomplished, and you've been setting that tone as you've been getting started in your roles. And then in addition, some of the initiatives from our strategic plan, including volunteerism and diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are initiatives that we're embarking on to basically keep our strategic planning effort going, have been underway. So that includes some of the engagement efforts that you see here on this slide, all of the recreation and other events that have been going on this summer, the relaunch of the Community Roundtable. We've had a few volunteer Tigard events. We've had some communication efforts that out on social media and on our digital engagement platform, which is called Your Tigard, that have all been launched. In addition, most of our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts on the accomplishment side of things they've been mostly internal. I think what we've been trying to do is engage our staff in the question about how to be more inclusive and planning for the Multi-Equity Summit, which some of you I think know is coming up this October. And we have an internal advisory team where we're trying to come up with a set of initiatives for how staff and our services can be more inclusive. I'm including the performance audit project on this slide also because I think that, well, during the past couple of months, our Matrix Consulting, our consultant, has done both a community survey and a staff survey. That gave them input that you'll be getting their report in a few weeks, and gave them a sense of sort of what the community values are about the services people care about. So let's see, as we look ahead, you just talked to Mr. Purdy, and you know the Business Roundtable will be relaunched. We have, I mentioned the Multi-Equity Summit. We have our community development staff is planning for listening sessions. Those will probably happen in mid-2020. They're probably not going to be happening early in the spring, and I think they'll be coming back and asking you for guidance about what you would like how you'd like those to be structured. And then coming up very soon, you're going to be hearing out, I mentioned the performance audit report, and just this month we've got some training scheduled for the council that we'll hope you'll engage on for diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep going. Goal 5. The 5th goal is really about the walking in connection concept that's in our city's strategic plan, and the objectives under this goal focus on the specific policies and projects that can make Tigard much more walkable and that we can achieve in the next 2 years. So what you're seeing here are a host of planning and project work that are about pedestrian connections and our policies around transportation. Things we've accomplished, again, I think you've seen many of the major milestones for some of our major projects, and those happen during the summer, things like the pavement management program, and as we get rolling with the 121st and planning for the 72nd project, We're hitting some of the major milestones on those projects. I'll mention one other thing about this goal. One of the objectives says we would invest in walking connections and dedicate specific funding for bike and pedestrian projects in the CIP that equals at least 10% of the transportation CIP planned expenditures. And the idea behind that objective is that it's basically that we're setting a strategic goal about becoming more walkable, and our investments are following that value. So I guess, it's always great when you set a goal and you accomplish it immediately, but our 6-year CIP in the fiscal year we're in is exceeding the standard that's set in this goal. So in 2019 and 2021, in 2019-20 and 2020-21, the adopted budget is at 34% of projects that focus on bike and pedestrian connections. So in some ways you could say the goal that you set, your investments are following it. And that's already done with the adopted budget. Let's see, and as we look ahead on this goal, you've been hearing from our city engineer and our central services director about our ADA plan and how we'll be moving forward with implementing projects. It's going to be a multi-year set of investments. So those projects will get rolling. We plan to do a sidewalk infill study, which is something that we did when we first adopted the strategic plan, to try to figure out where our gaps were in sidewalks throughout the city, and then also how to prioritize addressing them over time. And then the rest are transportation efforts that are geared toward meeting this goal, including a transportation safety action plan that we received a grant from ODOT for, and the kickoff of our transportation system plan. So that's where we are. I mentioned at the outset of my report that my hope is that our work planning in the future gives you a better look ahead into what to expect. And so we're trying to put together a report that's more reflective of a look ahead rather than just reporting on milestones that have been met on projects.
On Goal 5, didn't we had something about advocating for the state, the
Yes.
speed limit control?
Thank you very
Which
much.
should be on the accomplished, right? We
Yes, it
didn't do
should.
much, but it got approved in the
I'm
legislature.
sorry, I must have run out of room on the slides to report on that, but you're right. It's always great when you accomplish a goal right away. One of the things that the council wanted to advocate for is the passage of Senate Bill 558, and that bill allowed for local control over reducing speed limits in residential areas that are not state highways, and that bill was passed. And so I think we're going to be coming back as staff, we're going to be coming back to you to the council and asking for guidance about what you'd like to do next. And we could come with some suggestions too, about, where are there places where you would like to begin, given that we have that local control, where would you like to begin looking at changes in speed limits based on that guidance? Thank you for mentioning that.
I was just excited that we had got something done like that.
Yeah, it's only been 3 months, and we can say we accomplished that.
Well, it looks like, frankly, you look at a lot's been accomplished.
Yes.
On every one of these goals, so that's exciting to see.
Sure. So I would take any other feedback or guidance about either reporting, things that you're curious about, anything I didn't mention regarding the council goals so far. And it's early yet, so we'll be back to you each quarter with an updated report.
Councilor Lube?
I would say, just as far as feedback is concerned, I know maybe you guys are starting to look at hoping this report is more forward-looking, but I think also going through the accomplishments is really helpful, just as sort of a look back. I think sometimes we probably get in the weeds on some issues, and we continually look forward and look at things, and this is a really great opportunity for us to look above the trees down and see everything that's accomplished. So I would like to see the accomplishments definitely stay there, and I think it's also a really great reflection, showing the community this is what we've done. So I like that, and I think we've made some excellent progress on a lot of these, and I want to thank you and the rest of the staff for all the work.
Councilor Newton?
Yeah, when you look at the list, wow, it's a lot of things that we've accomplished, which is great. And I think you were mentioning the CIP report. I think this is a lot to try to do pictorially that way, but being able to show the accomplishments at the same time, we're conscious of the fact that we're not going to be able to accomplish this much on every goal in the first 6 months of the year. So that was my point about making sure that we realize and understand that some of these are going to make maybe slow, steady progress, and it might take most of the 2-year period, and we have to be mindful of resources and timing on some of these things. And so when you look at as much as we've accomplished, I'm blown away. And I think also maybe doing it in a way, I know you're working on the format, that might be able to remind, I was struck as I was looking at it, how I know we put it on our AISs, the council goal, but I don't always remember, as I'm looking through and approving it, how much else is connected to that we've accomplished. So having it, viewing it more, kind of what you do, but maybe even more like Lori does on the matrix thing, so they can all be connected for us and the public to see, yeah, all these lists of things are all connected to goal 1. You know, they're all these things that we've accomplished in goal 1 or goal 2, and they are all connected and important. So anyway, I would just, but sort of maybe for context, but yeah, it's impressive.
Thank you for the feedback.
Counselor Turley or Counselor Anderson?
I like the format. I like the accomplishments are fine, but I like the look ahead, because as we get updates, we can kind of pay attention to where that kind of, which bucket that goes into, so.
And even comment on if there's a look-ahead item that maybe is missing, like that we,
Sure.
you know, that we think we should be working on.
Yeah, yeah.
There were at least 1 or 2 of those where I was like, okay, it's covered, it's acknowledged, I don't need to keep asking about it.
And thanks for the catch on the speed limit item.
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
It's good. I think the format works well. And I also think that this, you know, if you think about displaying on 2 slides, the goal, the details around that goal, what's been accomplished and what we're working towards, being able to display that on each goal on 2 slides, I think is pretty impressive, actually. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Was there anything, I'm just more curious, was there anything as you and or staff were preparing these where, you know, you were kind of going through the goals, like either having not remembered something, or, I mean, was there any sort of like aha, oh yeah, we gotta get something moving
Yes.
forward? Were there some of those? Okay.
Yeah, there are some of those. So, and I guess I'll mention that from the value standpoint. I mean, I think that providing, this has given staff a renewed level of attention to how we're making progress and being sure that we are driving toward milestones on some things, and we won't hopefully get to the end of 2020 and say, whoops, what was that thing we were supposed to do? So it's been useful to put together a renewed report for you. So, and it's timely to do that because here you are serving these 2 years together. So this is a good time for us to do that.
So can you express appreciation to the staff for not only putting this together in the format that it is, but also in all the really hard and difficult work that we've challenged them with and what they've accomplished? And I mean, if you think about February to now, that's like 6-7 months maybe?
Right, that was my other takeaway, and I will absolutely express that to them. So, thank you.
The PowerPoint was more impactful for me than the attachment we got. So something like this, maybe tweaked a little with some of the, making sure we cover the advanced goals is really helpful because it's all right there, so yeah.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Senior Manager Wine. And with that, we have no non-agenda items. We have no executive sessions scheduled. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned.